What started as a kit is all built, painted, and trailed. Is the Axial Capra trail buggy everything it's cracked up to be? Keep watching to find out. For our crawl, we went out with our resident crawler specialist, Matt, with his personal Capra in the blue. And we also took customer service tech, June, who built the AMain Capra for us. Because no tires are included with the Capra, we mounted up a set of Proline Hyrax 1.9s in the Predator compound. And if you're curious what remaining components we used in our Capra, I'll put a link to our first Capra video down below in the description.
Okay. Yep. Nothing.
A few days ago, we had a chance to sit down with June and talk with him after he had recently assembled the Capra and just got his thoughts on the build and some of the features of the truck. So let's chat with him now. But first, let's enjoy these Capra donuts. We've got the Axial Capra and a special guest, June, is with us. He built this Capra. Before we talk about the Capra, June, what do you do here at AMain Hobbies?
I'm customer service tech support. I've been in AMain for the last 8, almost 9 years now, and basically answer phone calls, emails, chats, mostly right now phone calls.
All right, so the Capra is nearly complete. How long did this take you to build?
Roughly about a day and a half in between phone calls.
Okay, yeah, so you were building it while you were working. So, I mean, it definitely, if you look at the hours you put into it, it was like 4 hours maybe?
Roughly 4, maybe less.
How was the build with the manual? You said you had some issues with the manual, right?
Let's just say there were some challenges. You mentioned earlier that there's a update on the manual. Hopefully that will help.
Yeah, right. So I think Axial put out an update that the kits will be coming with in the future. So if you see this in the future, you're probably not gonna have any issues with the manual.
Yeah.
And that manual is available now, the updated manual, digitally, and it's also linked to the AMain Hobbies product page for the Capra under the Resources tab.
Right.
So it's already out.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, dude, it looks really nice. So it's like a 10th scale Wraith almost.
Exactly, like shrunk down a little bit.
Yeah, so the wheelbase is 313, I believe, right? Here's a TRX4 Sport.
Oh, cool. There
Let's
it is.
throw it up top. Will it fit up top? How's that wheelbase? Does it look similar?
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Pretty
because the
close.
Sport's 313.
There it is. You got it.
Let's see.
Oh, as far as width.
Yeah, you can see. Oh, okay, so it's a little bit wider.
Is it?
Yeah, it looks wider.
Oh wait, center. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is wider.
Now, for that dig unit, for anybody who doesn't want to use the dig, you can just lock it full 4-wheel drive.
There is, on the instruction, there's a spacer while you're building the actual dig, the actual transmission part.
While you're assembling it.
While you're assembling.
Okay.
So for me, when I first assembled it, I assembled using the manual, and it has that spacer. And then when I put it all together and I start playing with it, it's like, wait, Oh, and then I realized I have to take out that spacer so I can activate the actual.
Okay. So that way, I mean, once you lock it up and put it together that way.
All-wheel drive.
Okay, but then if you later want to make it a functional dig, then you have to disassemble it all apart again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of work. So that's something you really want to decide up front. But I mean, you want the dig.
You want the dig.
Why would you get this and not have that dig?
Yeah. You dig it.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig?
Can you dig it? All right.
I really like the servo on the axle for performance. That's a really good feature.
Right.
And then I noticed on the shocks, the bottom spring perch is screwed on.
I like that. This is it's a trick part, and I'm pretty sure it was made before with Axial, and they stop it. And a lot of our customers been looking for that part, and I'm glad that it came with this one. If you're out there crawling, and if this pops out, you're done.
Yeah. The shocks too, they're so smooth.
Very smooth.
They're buttery smooth, and you use the included 35 weight fluid.
Yes.
And then the shock caps on the top have a bleeder screw.
Perfect, I like that, yeah.
That's how most competition shocks are.
Yes.
They're super easy to bleed and to make and to get them all for consistent.
Consistent is the word, yep. When you bleed them all together at the same time, you don't have to worry about the bladder and stuff, so it's
big time.
I like it.
It's kind of tricky, like maybe the first time you build a shock like that, but you get it down. One thing that I think is really cool, these wheels, or almost any of the Axial wheels, they come with these little grooves in there. And those are for the Axial wheel weights. So I've got a package of the wheel weights. They're these half moon looking things.
Nice.
And you basically take this, you put one on each side and they screw together, but you can snap it in place.
Bam, just like
Look at
that.
And that snaps in, you put another one on the bottom side, and then Axial also sells the little inserts. So once you put the moons on there with little inserts, it's a lot of weight for each individual wheel if you want to go that way. I've done this before on my old original SCX-10, the G6 that I had, and man, it worked really good.
You can fine tune it, right?
It's kind of pricey to go this way to get the half moons and then the inserts for every wheel, because this package only includes enough for one wheel. But once you do it, man, it's a lot of weight. Before we go, I just wanted to chime in here after having driven the Capra. Out on the trail, the Capra is pretty impressive. The portal axles do really good over some of the rocks and different just trail debris that you come along. They don't get hung up as often. The dig performs really well, and it's something that once you've used, you don't want to go back to not having it. Even with 45 degrees of steering angle with the universals and the front axle, the steering's on par with most other crawlers out there. But when you add in that dig, the steering just becomes so much tighter as long as you have grip for those front tires to be pulling you around. And then with the looks, the Capra looks pretty cool the way it is. It has a lot of scale realism, especially if you're going to be using that interior Lexan piece. The finished look is pretty solid. A couple of rooms for improvement on the Capra would be to try to drop the chassis height as low as possible. It does sit a little high, so using those softer springs would be good, although maybe the little bit stiffer springs in the rear and then some harder foams in the rear definitely help climbing up and over some things with keeping softer foams in the front. And then lastly, adding in those wheel weights would really help the performance of this truck, just keeping it planted, whether it's those Axial weights that are made for the wheels like we just talked about, or some other weight system. I'm sure in the future we're gonna see a lot of brass parts being offered for these portal axles, but they're so new, there isn't anything out there yet, but some sort of weights would really help out a lot. One thing to keep in mind with a vehicle like this that has a cage is that accessing some of the components takes a little bit more patience. It's not as convenient as a trail truck where you just pop off the Lexan body and you have access to everything in there. With the cage, getting inside requires you to disassemble some more parts, and then having your battery and plugging it into the ESC where space is kind of limited can be a little bit challenging, so that's why I say it requires a little bit more patience. But all in all, the Capra is a really nice trail buggy And if you're a crawler enthusiast, it is a really good addition to have to your arsenal. Now, one thing I'm really looking forward to, and I don't have any information on this, but I would love to see these portals and that dig system on an Axial trail truck. I don't have any insider info. I haven't heard of anything coming down the pipelines, but if I was Axial, I would definitely be incorporating some of those new features on something that has a proper C-rail chassis and then some shock hoops. So I'm gonna be keeping my eye out for that. All right, let's go back. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe or give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to leave your questions down below. And if you want more info on any of this stuff, you can check out our links down below as well.
Okay.
I'm Brett, and this is June.
I'm June, yeah.
With AMain Hobbies. Thanks for watching.
Cut.
I wrote a rap for you.
What is it?
Can you give me a beat? Do you have a beat? My name is June, and I'm here to say I built the Capra in less than a day. Word.